Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an addendum to the show that I did on Friday on the Korff expose. Just according to Hoyle, this guy has stepped in it even bigger than he imagines. Genuinely, I really truly believe this man needs a mental health intervention. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So the only thing to do is, I hate to take up the time to do more on this guy, but, I have to. If you can believe that Saturday morning, following the show, I received an email purportedly from an attorney by the name of Robert Covelio, listed in San Juan Capistrano. Now, it was, at first sight, I knew immediately this was another hoaxed, dummied up missive that came directly from Korff. But in it, it was such an amateurish effort on his part to try to scare me. So what I did was immediately call the attorney in question. He, in fact, was a real individual, is a practicing attorney, is in the state of California. I forwarded the email from Korff to him. He right now is considering what, if any, actions he's going to take on this. I, of course, told him that anything that I can do to assist him in that, all he has to do is let me know. So that is taken care of. And while I was thinking about that, there was another episode that took place in Prague, the Czech Republic, involving Korff and what appeared to be the theft. Now read that again. The theft of more than $3,000 worth of electronic equipment by Korff. Now, in order to give you the straight scoop on what that was involved with, is an American who is currently living in the Czech Republic. He is part of the Korff Idiot blog site. He goes by the handle of F1 Racer, but his actual name is Mr. Francis Underwood. He's not afraid to put his name out there. And Francis, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on Dark Matters Radio and tell us exactly what went down.
Well, Don, first I want to say that your previous show was the greatest media coverage of an explosion since the Hindenburg. So that was fantastic. I was almost, especially the end where you played "Coming to Take Me Away." That was great. That's unreal. You should get an award. Definitely. What happened? Now, everything I'm about to tell you is a fact. This is not a rumor. This is not from hearsay. This is not, well, I can't verify it, but this is actually true and can be looked up on the internet. It's factual. There were three parties involved. There's Kal Korff, a Apple provider called Cables and Sims, and a very, very famous man in the Czech Republic who has his own Wikipedia entry named Wojtek Sedlacek, who runs a sort of charity company that places mentally challenged people and people with disabilities into employment in the Czech Republic.
So a genuine humanitarian.
This man won Czech Entrepreneur of the Year. He was one of the first people that signed Charter 77 in 1977, which was the Declaration of Human Rights that Václav Havel actually signed. He is a very, very famous, well-loved, respected man in that country. And what Cal did to him, I'm about to tell you, to me is beyond scum. So here we go. What happens is Mr. Sedlacek hired Cal as a freelance English teacher to teach English to some of his employees at the charity. Cal put up on YouTube the signing of this English document that he was going to teach for Mr. Sedlacek, the Cal worded it as, Mr. Sedlacek has made me the CFO of his company.
The CFO, Chief Financial Officer?
Yes.
So in other words, what he did was outright lie and misrepresent himself, I can only presume, to garner some type of financial reward for that.
That's exactly what it's coming to. Mr. Sedlacek, God bless him, his English is not very good and probably didn't know exactly what was going on with Cal. Cal's YouTube video indicated, I am signing a 5-year employment contract to be CFO of Mr. Sedlacek's company. Okay, fine. At first it was, all right, Cal's teaching English for him, obviously, but if he wants to create some, alternate personality thing, whatever. Mr. Sedlacek better be careful. A couple of weeks later, somebody found on the internet a posting from a company called Cables and Sims, which is a supplier of Apple.
Cables and Sims?
Cables and Sims Limited. The man who runs it, the owner, his name is Milos Bartu. Cables and Sims had put on the internet an entire web page devoted to Cal, because what happened was Cal went to Cables and Sims misrepresenting himself as the CFO of Provos Agency, which is Wojtek Sedlacek's company, and using Mr. Sedlacek's famous name and the fact that everybody knows him, and, Cal, for all his faults, is a pretty good bullshitter, convinced Cables and Sims to turn over about 48,000 crowns worth of Apple equipment, which back then came out to about $3,000.
U.S.
The U.S., and said, Mr. Sedlacek's company, we will, bill us and we will pay this. Cables and Sims, it's the representative of Mr. Sedlacek. Everybody knows him. That's like somebody, from Bill Gates coming in and buying something. All right, fine, no problem. Weeks later, Cables and Sims has noticed they haven't been paid yet, contacted Mr. Sedlacek, who knew absolutely nothing about this so-called purchase. Indicated to Cables and Sims that Cal Korff definitely did not work for his company in any capacity other than freelance English teacher. Do you understand what just happened here?
Absolutely. Theft and fraud. I mean, here in the States, that would be an absolutely ironclad felony.
Now, look, it gets even funnier. Now, of course, the boom came down on Cal. Mr. Sedlacek and Cables and Sims sorted it out, so Mr. Sedlacek is not liable for this, because obviously it was a scam. But it turns out that Cal took the invoice that was supposed to be paid by Mr. Sedlacek, that he had no intentions of paying it, and sent it to his mother in Oregon in an attempt to get her to pay it. So, in other words, he stole, and you can't say it any other way. He committed a theft. He committed a theft, yep. In the amount of over $3,000, and then from a charity. From a charity. Yep. From a charity. From one of the most famous people in that country who risked jail time under the communist system signing Charter 77. This is a man who basically should get the Nobel Peace Prize for what he did. This is above and beyond ripping off your local mom and pop, 7-Eleven. This is, I don't know what went through his mind thinking he could get away with it. And then he tried to stick it on his mother, who was already trying to take care of another son who was shot by police while trying to run a police officer down. So, which is very interesting because public record shows that Curtis Korff, there's that triple K naming thing again, was found guilty and is incarcerated in the state of Oregon, yet Cal maintains to this day Curtis was found innocent, even though the public record is right there saying Curtis was found guilty.
Well, what I'm saying is with the poor Mrs. Korff, when she tossed the dice on these two, she came up snake eyes.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, well, she bombed out with her husband and her 2 kids.
Okay, so now here's the bottom line. Are the police looking for Korff right now?
According to a relative of my beautiful bride, they have been looking for Korff for a while. Problem is, anybody who lives here knows this. The Prague police system is very inefficient, very corrupt. I'm going to admit it. Everybody admits it. Everybody knows it. So what? When you're here without a visa and you don't register at the American embassy, which as a foreigner you're supposed to do when you come to this country within 3 days of getting here, nobody's going to know where you are. If you are paying your landlord by cash with no written agreement, or if you're staying with friends, or if you're living in a hostel, there's no paper trail. I know people who have been here for 10 years on a 30-day tourist passport visa. You can fall through the cracks very easily in this country. Cal is very good at staying in those cracks. They can't find him because he has no legal address. When you have a SIM card that you can buy prepaid, you don't even have to, back in the day, you didn't even have to present a passport or ID for it. You just walked in, handed them 300 crowns, and got yourself an Oscar SIM card phone number, no questions asked. There's no paper trail with Cal. And the police don't have the resources to go into the city to look for one guy who, as bad as it sounds, only stole $3,000 worth of stuff, when there's hundreds of other criminals who have murdered people who are still running around.
So, in other words, Mr. Sedulak or Mr. Bartu, either or both of them are still out $3,000
yes.
by this scam artist and thief.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now, here's the good thing. Mr. Bartu, Cables and Sims, because they have the serial numbers of all of those Apple products, gave them to Apple. Now, I don't know if you know this, but if you have an iPad or an iPod or an Apple, when you log in and you have to do an iTunes download or an iTunes update or a software update, it reads the serial number of your equipment. Apple can have that already being looked for this serial number, so, you know, they can either shut it off or they're going to know where it's downloading its stuff from.
Very good. Well, Francis, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on Dark Matters Radio to give us an update on this thief, Kalvin Korff.
Cal, let me tell you, Cal Korff is a thief. He's a liar. He's a con artist. He's a mental patient. I invite him to sue me. I invite him to come and get me. I invite him. I wish he would. So there you go.
Okay, well, that pretty much says it all. Francis, thank you.
God bless, Don. Have a good day.
Now, folks, I don't like talking this way, but sometimes it's necessary. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Now, folks, I don't like talking this way, but sometimes it's necessary.
Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever.
Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever. Fuck you, whatever.